there's clearly not any negative questions to ask. A press corps asks you about challenges. They don't necessarily ask you about things that are going well.
In this week's wacky moments of leftist extremism, the Biden border crisis is still a growing crisis this week, and Team Biden is keeping the press out of border facilities because clearly they have nothing to hide, right? Well, MSNBC's Andrea Mitchell says, you can trust them. Their heart is in the right place.
We know that their intentions are good and they were trying to be humane from their all reports and from what they've been saying.
Yeah, they've been saying it's all good, so I question it. It's so obvious that Sleepy Joe is manipulating the media on this issue. Even Mika is finally beginning to get a little suspicious on Morning Joe.
This is problematic. I mean, look, I know Jen Psaki well, but reporters should be allowed into all the facilities. And when you only allow reporters into the aspirational ones, it leads to more questions, like are reporters being used to sort of sell the best part of this?
Well, now there's a thought. It may be the first one she ever had, but, at least it's a good one. But don't worry, we're talking about MSNBC, so an intellectual thought is quickly killed there. Joy Reid comes on later to reaffirm that there is no crisis. Those border kids, they're just GOP props.
Let's just be clear. Those children are just a prop for fear-mongering and doing the old Brown scare. So no, it's not a crisis. We need immigration reform.
Oh, well, it all makes sense now. The GOP is messing up Biden's borders on purpose, especially that Latino Senator Ted Cruz.
But I just have to get your thoughts on Rafael Ted Cruz, who himself is a person of color, to participate in that. Your thoughts?
He is, Joyanne, but he has never embraced that identity. In fact, I would argue that he is pushed back against his Latino identity.
That insult to intelligent discussion is actually brought to you by a security company, ADT. Give them a call and tell them to secure some advertising elsewhere. Meanwhile, CNN has secured the answer for gun violence in America this week.
Why, in terms of making change, since it seems intractable at the national level, why don't we go to gun shop owners and say, do you think that this 21-year-old who comes in and wants an AR-15 style weapon, do you think that he looks like he's going hunting with this weapon? Did you ask him, by the way, do you ever think that people are chasing you? Do you ever hear voices saying that people are coming for you?
Yeah, so now on top of checking and double-checking multiple forms of ID, contacting federal officials to approve a purchase, gun shop employees should now profile their customers and ask if they might be insane. I mean, that seems reasonable, right? Of course, there is no reasoning on CNN. You either want gun bans or you want mass murder. Those are the only two options.
Will they choose to take action, do something, anything to try to stop these mass shootings? Or will they choose the status quo, which means looking at what happened in Boulder this week, in Georgia last week, and saying, I choose this. Let's stick with this. Boulder is working for me.
Simple choices for simple minds. In fact, you have to choose right now because they must capitalize on a tragedy immediately.
That one of the lessons that came from folks who just wanted even some very moderate gun safety laws was that there can't be a grace period after something like that happens.
Jam it through, just like they want the leftists to jam the Democratic federal takeover of elections through. Yes, the so-called For the People Act. If you don't support the Democrats taking over elections, well, you want to torture people.
Let's just be clear for everybody who's watching this right now. What Republicans are saying is they're going to make it torture for you to vote in line by having fewer machines, beat up machines, places where in urban centers, places where black folks live, suburbs where black people live, make it impossible or torture for you to vote in line.
Yes, it's so torturous to turn up to a polling station and show ID. You should be able to just mail it in multiple times, even if you're dead. No need to check on these things. Speaking of torture, Joe Biden finally held a press conference this week where he agreed to take questions from those friendly national reporters.
There's clearly not any negative questions to ask. A press corps asks you about challenges. They don't necessarily ask you about things that are going well.
Yeah, no need for COVID questions or real-time fact checks for Biden's ludicrous claims about, migrants at the border.
That's why they're coming, because no, Biden's a good guy. Truth of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people came, 28% increase in children to the border in my administration.
Or 61% if you look at actual CBP numbers, but hey.
There's clearly not any negative questions to ask. A press corps asks you about challenges.
But here's the truth. The media was busy this week fact-checking Joe Biden videos. Especially this one that claims that Joe Biden isn't human.
That's not a human being, people. I already told you. A lot of times I look at them and be like, damn, you have to be wearing a mask or something.
Thankfully, the press was on the case. This was actually worth inquiring about. PolitiFact was here to inform anyone who has any doubts that, no, this video fails to prove that Joe Biden isn't human. Well, thank goodness they're there for that and taking on those pressing questions.
There's clearly not any negative questions to ask.
PolitiFact on the case. Lefty Press doing their job there, folks. We are done with our job today. I'm Eric Shiner from MRCTV, asking you to visit the MRC Store for some great conservative gear. Especially, they have items that are useful for humans. You can check that fact out. I promise you it's true. Please visit MRCTV.org for more great videos and stories. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our content on a variety of platforms: Rumble, Parler, Clapper, and many others. And we'll be back with some more lefty media wackiness for humans next week.